What if the chronic pain, illness, or emotional struggles you face aren't just genetic or environmental, but deeply rooted in unresolved trauma? Many of us carry trauma without even realizing how much it affects our health and longevity. Today, we are uncovering this hidden connection and exploring how healing trauma could be the key to a healthier, longer life. Welcome to the Longevity Health Initiative, where we explore pathways to lifelong vitality. I'm your host, Lisa J. Rappa, and today we have a truly inspiring guest, Maureen Ledden Rossi. Maureen is a community activist, award-winning journalist, and advocate whose personal journey through trauma and healing has had a profound impact on her life and the lives of others. We'll explore her incredible story, her work with trauma recovery therapies like rapid recovery therapy and the Serenity Bed, and her belief that trapped trauma, not just genetics or environment, play a major role in health and wellness. Maureen, welcome. You've had quite an impactful career in both journalism and community activism. But it wasn't until you experienced trauma treatments that you felt a true shift in your own health journey. Can you share your story with us and what led you to seek out trauma recovery therapies like RRT and the Serenity Bed?
Absolutely. Thank you for that introduction, Lisa. It's an honor and privilege to be here. So, I shared with you, I had volunteered at Ground Zero for 7 months. Once a week I went down there and I got a little banged up. And we tried all kinds of different modalities. I tried every holistic thing under the book. And I ended up going on some medicine, which I took on label. And after just about it was almost 4 years, and I felt it totally was changing me, this medicine that I took on label. Later found out it rewires your neurobiology and changes your physical brain. So I went to my doctor, my PA in town, and I said to her, listen, I need to come off this medicine. So I began to titrate at home, cut the pills in half, get a little chart, and it went a little too quick with one of the two medicines, and I was going to seize. So I called my friend, Claudia Ragni, and she got me into Long Island Center for Recovery, where I had a medical detox off the medicine. It was funny because they were like, well, how much did you drink today? I'm like, nothing. How much yesterday? Nothing. And I'm like, well, 3 days ago I had red wine. Like, why are you at rehab? I'm like, oh, my doctor called. I'm here for medical supervision detox. And I was never supposed to go to rehab, but it was a blessing that I did, because at this rehab, they had two, and I believe one of them is patented. I believe rapid resolution therapy, RRT, is patented. And I had the Serenity Bed, which is frequency healing, which that is absolutely positively, as you probably know, the future of healing.
So, was there a specific moment or event that made you realize that healing was possible for you after everything that you went through?
I never really saw it. You have, like, my son almost died when he was 3 weeks old. I lost a girlfriend in a like, life happens. Everybody goes through trauma. Trauma doesn't mean you necessarily see, four children get killed in a car accident. It just doesn't mean that. But the trauma treatment, I will tell you, I had a mystical experience. I don't want to get too woo woo, so I won't. I astroplaned. I left my body. I got a lot of downloads. I felt like every cell in my body was reworked. I didn't realize how much volunteering at Ground Zero was a trauma for me. It's like, hey, I covered the news. I've covered homicides, the war in Iraq, human trafficking. It's my city. I'm going to go. I didn't realize. I also didn't realize that covering stories like children's suicide because of cyberbullying, and I covered mass shootings. Like, I didn't realize I just kept piling the trauma on. And because I had a blessed and beautiful life, married 38 years to the love of my life. My parents were alive and healthy. I have 3 granddaughters. Like, I've had a beautiful life, but trauma happens. Trauma happens.
Yes, it does. So you mentioned that only 10 to 20% of illness is related to genetics or environment, while the majority is rooted in trapped trauma. What did you learn through your healing process that made you believe trauma is at the core of so much illness?
Sure. So I haven't watched television in 7 years. I have not been an active journalist since 2020 when I did a big piece on human trafficking. So I have an awful lot of time to listen and learn. And because trauma treatment had such an amazing impact on my life, it was transformational. Like I felt like I was reborn, if you may. It sounds a little biblical, which I'm not. Um, so I began to study it. I began to study trauma experts, the brain, how trauma rewires your neurobiology. Again, much like the medicines, changes your physical brain. Um, and it's real. And a lot of people go through trauma. It doesn't, it could be you have a child with special needs. It could be one of your parents had mental illness or addiction. It could be poverty if somebody in your family was incarcerated. Like you probably know about the ACE scores. In the 70s, they did these studies to see the trajectory of people, like, and it's a whole you can even go on a website and look and see, how much of your life was trauma. It's not always so overt, not your life, but I'm just saying people, your viewers. It's not always so overt, poverty, incarceration, illness, a parent who is ill, the death of a parent, the divorce of a parent.
It doesn't have to be this big
Yes, it doesn't have to be one
monumental
big giant thing.
situation to change the trajectory of your brain.
Yes. Yes, it rewires your neurobiology, it changes your physical brain. And then we have something called ancestral trauma, which Gabor talks about a lot.
I was going to ask you about that because I hear that that can go back 4 generations.
A lot of experts say up to 7 generations. The Native Americans believe 7 generations. But like if we look at the indigenous people, the native people, the people that lived here, before it was colonized. Native Americans had access to alcohol and tobacco and psychedelics that they used ceremonially. They were for ceremony. And then they are really the largest population in our country that is affected by alcoholism and addiction. And, generational trauma is real. It is real. It's cellular. Our body is comprised of water. Water holds memory. If you ever look at the studies from he's a Japanese doctor who does these great studies on water and energy. And
That's very interesting. So, what do you think is the biggest misconception people have about trauma and its impact on their health?
I don't think a lot of people realize they had trauma. I mean, unless it was something dreadful, like child sexual abuse or something like that, or maybe they were in an abusive relationship or marriage or such. It's not always so overt. You know what I mean? And it's becoming more mainstream. Now all the rehabs on Long Island, almost all of them, not all of them, have Reiki, the Vets Hospital, Sloan Kettering. So much that Reiki is becoming far more mainstream. Discussions and treatment and important conversations about trauma and trauma treatment are becoming more mainstream.
That's interesting. I did notice now in the hospital that you can ask for essential oils. That I didn't know about the Reiki, but I did know about the I think that they're starting to be a little bit more open to alternative options for people.
Yeah, when I got trained for level 1, I had been getting Reiki for a couple of years. There was a nun in my class, and she worked with the dying. She worked with the dying before. I don't think there were hospices quite then. So nurses have been doing laying of the hands. Nurses are angels, as you know. But this is not like a new thing, and it's done in different cultures, different societies, different civilizations, actually.
That's very interesting. So, now for those that are unfamiliar, can you explain how rapid recovery therapy works and how it helped you?
I sent a link you can share with your viewers. The doctor who invented it, sure, is still alive. I was planning on going down. I believe he's in Boca in Florida, and to get trained, and then COVID hit. So I never got trained, but it's on the bucket list, Lisa. It absolutely is. But it was a tapping. It was like a hypnosis, but you're cognizant. Um, and wow, 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 wow. Life altering. And we have people who do it on Long Island. I dream of a day where trauma treatment is covered by insurance. Like it was covered for me because I was there to come off the medicine. So I was inpatient. Um, but it's out of pocket and it's not terribly cheap. So hence why I began doing Reiki the last 6 years on people with trauma. I specialize in that trauma. I've got, 12 years of Catholic school. I've got the African drums, the Tibetan bells. I've got the sage from Peru. And, must have missed that class in Catholic school when, some deity comes marching through my office while I'm working on people. I must have been absent that day. It's such a fun life, I'm telling you.
So, how can people know if RRT might be right for them?
Well, I would recommend to go to the doctor's website, and it talks about people who had, horrific. They actually some first responders from Ground Zero as well. And that's another thing where I went to come off the medicine, where I got the 2 trauma treatments. They specialized in first responders. They had a program
Oh, interesting.
because, I was only down there once a week for 7 months, but I had no desire to go back. Like I've never seen it finished and rebuilt. Like it's just, but I didn't have nightmares anymore. Like I'm good. You will see the testimonies from people. It's miraculous, like miraculous.
I've never been back. Never been back.
I can't go
I
back. Yeah.
grew up down there, and there. Well, we won't go there today. But I have never had any desire to go there. That's just not one place. It's not the same.
It's sacred ground.
Yes, it is. And I just want to honor it that way.
So do I. So do
Um,
I.
so the Serenity Bed is another tool you have used in your journey. How does frequency healing work and the Serenity Bed work, and how did you find it beneficial? So the Serenity Bed is relates to energy?
It's a frequency. They play frequencies.
Oh, they play frequencies while you're lying there, and the frequency I
It's all encompassing. It was like every cell was so when I work with people and I do Reiki with clients, a good teacher doesn't create students. A good teacher creates other teachers. So everybody goes home with, or I will text them different frequencies. I teach them put your hands on your heart chakra, lay down, put the earbuds in. I send them, I teach them about the most powerful affirmations. I am is the most power. Anything you put after I am, words, Words have frequency. Thoughts have frequency. The laws of quantum physics apply. And that's why I think I like this so much. Like sending Reiki, the laws of quantum entanglement apply. It's also fascinating. You know, I'm fascinated by all of it.
It sounds great. Are you aware of any other wellness practices such as meditation, acupuncture, chiropractic care that helps along with the healing?
Absolutely. So I belong to an interspiritual church, and there's this great gal there. She actually did a session over at Linda Ventura's Thomas's Hope, and Susan Gelman does the Tibetan bowl. She does healing. You'll have to she's worth a show herself, quite frankly. Multi-dimensional singing bowls. And so I attended something over at Thomas's Hope at Linda's place, and she's just a phenom. And she's well versed in sound, frequency healing. And, earthing. I tell everybody you need to ground and earth. I haven't been able to do it for a couple weeks because it's been snow here on Long Island. But feet in the ground, it doesn't have to be long. Get the energy from the earth. It is so healing. Pet a dog, take a shower. There's things you could do if you can't get your feet on the earth, and they sell frequency, like things you can put on your bed and stuff now to ground you and earth you. We've come a long way, Lisa.
Yes, we have. We haven't covered that in this series yet. So you're talking about a few things that we will be learning about down the line. But it's quite interesting. I'm definitely going to have to do at least one interview on frequency. So you've sent me in another direction.
I've been getting acupuncture since I'm 29. I come from Queens, so I had some great Asian, now everybody's doing it, but there were some great Asian acupuncturists who were like fourth and fifth generation healers. They were really quite talented. So I got into it kind of early.
Yeah, it sounds like you've really had a great exposure from a young age. So it's embedded in you. Now, you had mentioned that while you were studying trauma recovery, that you focused on it, and forgive me if I'm not pronouncing this correctly. You focused on an expert, Dr. Gabe Gabor Mate, and you had mentioned that his work had influenced your understanding of trauma and its impact on health.
Gabor, Dr. Mate Gabor, he's written many books. And please, for your viewers, you can see him lecture for free on YouTube. He is fascinating. So Gabor was born, I forget the country, but World War II was going on, and the Nazis had invaded his town, Bucharest. Budapest, I'm sorry, Budapest. And his mother had called the pediatrician. Listen, I don't understand. He's a newborn baby. He can't stop crying. And the pediatrician said, I'll come see him. But all the children, all the Jewish children are upset. The parents' energy, this heavy thing. Some of their relatives that had already been sent away and executed and whatnot. And she literally had to give her son away for a couple of months to safekeeping, someone who hid him.
Wow.
So that was his early, it's not that he wasn't loved. It was done because he was loved. But I like the way he explained, he gets heavy into generational trauma. And I highly recommend his work.
Was there a particular concept that resonated with you or that changed your approach to healing?
Yes, he worked as a doctor. He delivered babies for a chunk of his career, but he worked with in Vancouver with the worst, bottom, like end of the line street addicts, like end of the line. A lot of them were First Nation people. Hence, he speaks eloquently and extensively about generational trauma to First Nation people. He's fascinating, and he's easy to understand. But his most famous book is In the Realm of Hungry Ghosts. So in Buddhism, I believe it is, yes, Buddhism, the hungry ghost is someone who has a very small mouth and a very large belly. They can never be satiated in the realm of hungry ghost. And he goes in, and more hardcore the addict, the greater the trauma if you go back into these stories. So it's in the realm of hungry ghosts. And he also speaks about addiction comes from, I believe, the Latin word addictus, which means enslaved. So, we live in a society where there's some very, okay addictions, be it shopping or work or exercise or social media. And, it's all the same thing. It's enslavement, and it blocks you from your highest spiritual good, no matter what it is. It doesn't matter what it is. Even if it's, a societal, like, norm. Oh, it's such a hard worker. Or she's so successful. She works so hard. Yeah. No, 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 no. Not if it's addiction, not if you're enslaved by it and the outcome.
That's quite interesting. So, how do you think addressing and healing trauma should be integrated into overall wellness strategies for longevity?
Well, I think we can first start by funding it, funding trauma treatment, and even say, okay, so I did a piece on human trafficking in 2020 about human trafficking on Long Island. Like, you can't jump. You kind of jump them out. A friend of mine was a HT judge. Like, you would jump out a gang member. You can't just send someone who's been trafficked to a 400-bed facility for 30, 28 days. They need trauma treatment, job skills. They need housing. They need, we are a traumatized society, but we'll have to talk further about trafficking because it's sort of another rabbit hole, like Nikola Tesla and energy work, and it's the other rabbit hole I've gone now. A dark one. Thank God I meditate. Keep the peace, protect the vessel, protect the energy field. And that's another thing too, is just protecting your energy wherever you go. Just whatever you believe in. Put a little purple light around you, the light of God, source, creator, whatever, whomever you bow to. Because it's kind of wild out there. The Matrix is glitching, Lisa.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
The Truman Show is tripping.
So, what do you wish more people understood about trauma recovery and its long term impact on health?
Well, I don't even think people are aware. Like, we've never been more connected as a society, but we've never felt more alone. People aren't even aware that they're traumatized. And our birthright is peace, love, and joy. Peace, love, and joy. That is our birthright. And anything that blocks that, it's called shadow work, right? Like, that's the term now. Do the shadow work. And really, quite simple. It's almost like 12-step programs where there's something called step 4. It's like empty the vessel. It's not confession. Get rid of whatever doesn't serve your highest spiritual good. What's keeping you? A resentment, anger, the memory of a trauma. What's imprisoning? Like, what's holding you back from reaching your highest spiritual potential? And I mean, come on, we're here for a short time. Let's live. Let's live with joy.
So, what advice do you have for someone who is struggling with unresolved trauma and wants to start their healing journey? Where would they begin?
Well, I would start with frequencies on YouTube for free. Also, I want to talk about one specific frequency. And I'll tell you this, I made this connection. Dr. Carl Gustav Jung was a famous, I believe, German psychiatrist back in the day, like in the 20s and 30s, maybe into the 40s. And he knew that in order to reach the subconscious, you had to circumnavigate the left hemisphere of the brain to get to the right, where the trauma and the subconscious lives. And standardized therapy does not do that. It is virtually impossible to reach the right hemisphere. But there's a frequency called hemisync, and I'll share with you for your listeners. And it stimulates both the left and right hemisphere of the brain. I always give my clients hemisync frequencies. Nikola Tesla, the codes of the universe, the God frequency. There's so many. There's so many great frequencies, but I highly recommend hemisync for people who feel they have some trapped trauma. Grounding. Find yourself an energy worker. Acupuncture can balance your energy, your meridians. 5,000-year-old Chinese medicine. I mean, they were geniuses. They knew that the entire immune system was in the gut. The human biome now we're learning is so important.
Yes.
Chinese medicine is really fantastic. Meditation, it's in the void where we get the answers. We could pray that the cats come home, the dogs come home, and the cows come home, or whoever the hell comes home. But it's in the silence, it's in the void where we get the answers, and we come to learn ourselves better. Who are we? Who is our authentic self? What are we? I'm not a wife, a daughter, a grandmother, or journalist and activist. I'm just a soul. I'm a soul. I'm just a fractal of the light, just a mere fractal of the light. So what are we to do here? We're here to heal others. And what good is it to escape the fire unless you go back in and help other people escape?
Amen. That's what I'm doing with this podcast. I'm trying to share what I've learned and seek out support from others and hope that I can help other people along their road.
And you're very lucky, Lisa, because where we live here on Long Island, we have so much access to so many holistic modalities, and it's really quite magical. Drumming stimulates our whole frequency, our brain. There's so many things people can do, and if somebody's jammed up, you could always have them reach out to me.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate that.
Happy to help.
Thank you. We'll put your information in the show notes. So, looking ahead, what do you see as the next frontier in trauma recovery and healing? And how can people take steps to become more proactive in their health and wellness journey?
Yeah, so there's so many things you can do. Like, we're learning more about infrared light treatment right now,
Oh, I love that.
right? But the future is absolutely frequency healing, where it's starting. It's not as mainstream yet, but beds like the Serenity bed I went into. I don't know how much they cost. I sent you a link with pictures of different ones. The one I was in at Long Island Center for Recovery looks, I guess, like where you go to get oxygen, like an oxygen hyperbaric chamber. It looked a lot like a hyperbaric chamber.
Oh, yes.
So I see the future where this is super mainstream. Reiki is far more mainstream now. Come on, Sloan Kettering, the Vets Hospital, rehabs now. They're making the connection. The connection is being made. Let us heal. Let us all heal, because when we heal the planet. When we bring the light, the love, and the joy that is our inherent birthright, we heal. We heal others. You know what? What a beautiful thing to do in life.
That's awesome. Right? What's the word? Now I'm lost for word. It's light. It lightens you. It not only it lightens and enlightens
Yeah.
you.
And Lisa, you know what? Guess what happens when you bring the light? The darkness scatters.
That is true. That is true.
Listen, it's been, this aging disco queen is fascinated by all of this. I look forward to watching all your podcasts as well. And
Thank
I
you. I
love I love what you're
appreciate it.
doing. Thank you for what you're doing.
So, you've done a lot of work with the Kings Park community and beyond, advocating for healing and well being of others. How do you think the community can play a role in trauma recovery? And what advice would you give to community leaders or organizations looking to help those in need?
Yeah, well, I don't know. I don't know if I foresee it at this juncture on a community level, but I definitely see it on people who work with children, school districts and such. Kids who are acting out, and kids who are, I'm sure they do everything they can, but I'm sure they could spot kids who are having a rough time at home from a mile away. And that's trauma. How do we help? Maybe in the school system, how would we help traumatized children? Things like yoga, and they've begun to implement that, like yoga.
Yes, they
I think this is
have.
so progressive. We actually just offered, but we didn't have enough kids. We're going to do it again at Gathering of Light, Reiki for children. Now, of course, they're not going to get like the symbols or anything, but like help them own their own power so they could self regulate their emotions or verbalize how they feel because they certainly have a different world. AI is not just arrived, it's been here for some time. And they literally are. I don't want to sound like an old person, even though I am. It's a different world. It's even a different world. My little married millennials are 35 and 33. I mean, my friends who have younger children, it's absolutely positively a different dynamic in every conceivable way.
That is true. So, you have been recognized for your incredible work, including awards for your dedication to human rights, opioid awareness, and other causes. How do you find strength in service to others? And how has it impacted your personal recovery?
Well, service was something that was modeled for me. I come from a very large Irish family, 54 first cousins. My mom's one of 10, my dad's one of 7. My grandmother was the oldest of 10. Like, I just watched people be kind and good. And, this is what was modeled for me. And service has always been the rent I pay for my blessings. I've always been extraordinarily blessed, in my life. It's been magical, quite frankly. I always say, like, I had a Forrest Gump life. I got to do and see so many exciting things because of my work. And, I didn't go to journalism school. I didn't even go to college. And it's just been one magical adventure after the other, except that whole trauma stuff. That was a drag. But, thank God, the God had smiled upon me and allowed me to find that trauma treatment out there in the Hampton Bays there because it was life altering.
That's awesome. So, you had mentioned earlier a pivotal moment in your healing journey that made you realize the connection between trauma and illness. Could you take us through that experience and share how it shaped your current work and mindset? What was the breakthrough moment like?
Well, I actually deal with an illness now that is probably environmental from volunteering at Ground Zero. I told you I was in a little dose of chemo there. I don't have cancer. So some things are genetic, not too many. Some things are environmental, but most of it is trapped anger, sorrow, trauma. We're not taught as a society how to deal with this. And our generation, love my parents, love that generation. They were awesome. But there wasn't a heck of a lot of psychology. It was like provide an education, food, you can love your children, but there wasn't a whole lot of psychology involved. And we have different tools today, to raise a healthier generation. And it's hard to do it's just hard to do with the parents working full time and everything, and I fear the system is not broken. I fear it was designed this way, my dear. It's rather sad.
Okay, as we wrap up, is there anything that you would like to share with the audience, recommend that ties into trauma, support, healing,
Yeah.
modalities?
Well, for first thing, even though I've been trained in Reiki for over 25 years and a recipient of such, I work on myself. I no longer, since I had the trauma treatments, I no longer have to draw the symbols before I start. And this is probably blasphemous to other Reiki practitioners, but I don't have to. And it's why I teach all my clients we can all do it. It's not a special. This has been going on for eons. Like we're energy. The palms of the hands are very, very powerful. And even I can give some tips, like even if people just slowly play, they can literally feel the energy within their, we all have this. So I think teaching other people how to do it, and not everybody, has to get attuned. I mean, I did get attuned and got the symbols, the secret handshake. No, I'm only kidding. There's no secret handshake. But I no longer do them. It's just I touch and I pray. What is prayer? Prayer is energy. What is prayer? It's energy. Where does it go? It has to go somewhere, right? Quantum physics, laws of the universe. They're immutable.
That's excellent. Thank you. So, as we wrap up, I want to encourage you, our listeners, to reflect on your own healing journey. Have you experienced the effects of unresolved trauma in your own life? How did you begin to heal? Share your story with us in the comments or connect with us on Facebook. We would love to hear how you have taken steps towards healing and what tools and practices you have worked on and what has worked for you. Maureen, thank you so much for sharing your incredible story with us today. Your journey is truly a testament to the healing power of addressing trauma. I know this conversation will inspire so many of our listeners to take a closer look at their own health and how emotional and physical wellness is intertwined. For anyone that wants to know more about Maureen's work and the trauma recovery tools she used, be sure to check out the links in the description below. And stay tuned because Maureen will be back for a powerful follow-up interview on the healing power of giving, a journey of service in recovery communities. You will not want to miss it.
Thank you. Thank you for bringing the light, Lisa.
I truly hope Maureen's journey has offered you hope and inspiration. Do not forget to subscribe to the Longevity Health Initiative for more insightful discussions on wellness, longevity, and holistic health. Remember, healing is a process, and we are here to walk the journey with you. This is Lisa J. Rappa, and until next time, you are listening to the Longevity Health Initiative, exploring pathways to lifelong vitality. Thank you.